Okay. Mic check 1 2 1 2. I am the Y2K collector, and I have a question for you today. If someone you knew came to you and asked you what the best ninja, assassin, samurai style game was, what answer would you give them? Would you defer to the Shinobi series and say, hey, try out the Shinobi games? Those are some of the best ninja games available. Maybe you would point them to Hagane, a very famous cyborg ninja game on the Super Nintendo known for its exceptional difficulty. Maybe you would point them in the direction of Rising Zan on the PlayStation 1, a samurai game that had a little bit of a Western twist to it. Or maybe you pointed them in the direction of the PS2, where you would tell them to try out games like Nightshade or Blood Will Tell, very notorious and exciting ninja games. Maybe they own a PlayStation 3 and you told them to check out Killer is Dead, that's a hidden gem on the PS3 that'll give you a ton of action. Or maybe they only had a 3DS and they were tired of playing cutesy Mario games, and so you recommended that they check out Shinobi on the 3DS. Or maybe they've never owned any old consoles and they only have a Nintendo Switch, so you told them to check out The Messenger, a cool little retro styled ninja assassin game. See, the funny thing is that no matter which one of these games you recommended to them, all of those games are very, very high quality games, and not necessarily because of how much any of those games cost, because they all range in price, but those games are known to be some of the best games of their genre for their console. And that's what my whole collecting style has morphed into. And when you think about collecting video games to play them, right? If you've got a collection and you're putting it together and you're assembling a list of games and you're curating a group of games that you really want to play, you really only want to get the games that, one, are going to give you the best experience, and two, are going to give you a lot of good replay value and bang for your buck. And so it only makes sense that when you're collecting games, you only collect the best of the best, because why would you want to spend time paying and playing a worse experience of a certain type of game genre, right? So and we see this all the time. A blockbuster game will come out for a console, and then you'll see a bunch of kind of clones of the same type of game come out behind it. But those games never really quite hit the mark of the original, right? It's always something about being the originator. And so when I look at my collection and I look at the consoles that I have, I look at each console and say, okay, which games on this console are going to give me the best experience? And when it comes to playing the best games and having the best experience, those games are going to come in all shapes, sizes, and price ranges, because there are certain games that are amazing to play, but they're not very expensive at all. When you think about games like Sonic and Sonic 2, or you think about games like Streets of Rage or Streets of Rage 2, those are Streets of Rage 2, in my opinion, is the best beat 'em up ever. But it's not that expensive, and you can get it on the Sega Genesis. And if you don't own a Sega, sorry about that. If you don't own a Sega Genesis, you can get a ROM. It's available on a number of digital download platforms. So, when you start thinking about the best games, those are the games that you really want to have in your collection. Why would you want to, collect something that's not fun? Maybe just to say that you have it, or maybe just to say that you completed a collection. But when I think about where we're at in terms of, just our economy and the feasibility of really having a large collection, it doesn't always compute. And so for me, when I think about the time value and what I'm spending my money on, I really only want to get the games, in my opinion, that are going to give me the best bang for my buck and are really going to, just give me a very enjoyable gameplay experience. So what is the best? How do we define that? Do we define the best games based on how much we pay for them? Do we define the best games based on how rare they are? Or do we define the best games as the games that are the best to us individually? The games that maybe had the biggest impact on us based on the time that we first played them. Games that we enjoy the most based on the gameplay styles that we enjoy the most. I think there are a number of factors that go into this, and I think this is what's going to make video game collecting moving forward so interesting. Because I think in the future, what's going to wind up happening is collecting and collections are only going to be based on the things that individuals like, which I think is going to impact pricing in some ways. I think you're going to see prices for certain games change, and I think that as people start to narrow down and narrow in on what's the most important to them, that's where you'll see certain video gaming niches either tick up or tick down. I think that some of the most popular games are pretty much saturated. Everyone knows what the popular games are, but what I think happened during the pandemic was a lot of people spent time on YouTube learning about all of the hidden gems, all of the games that they never knew about for consoles that they currently own. And so they're probably sitting there thinking, you know what, man, I'd love to try this game out, or I'd love to play this game. And unfortunately, some of those games are expensive and are pricey. So as more people become interested in certain types of genres and certain gameplay types, I can see prices beginning to fluctuate more and more. But I think that's only going to make the collecting landscape even more interesting. And I think that it's going to make it even more fun. For me, I've been having a blast just going through and finding some amazing titles. I've actually been able to get some amazing Switch pre-orders come in, and I'm going to share some of those with you. And I think this is an example of collecting some of the best games, right? And these games that I'm collecting for the Switch, there's thousands of games that I could buy for the Switch, right? But these were the only 3 that really caught my eye going into October. And like I said, I've really kind of pared down and really kind of scaled back on the types of games that I'm picking up. So I want to share some of these pickups with you. Now, all 3 of these games are actual Switch games, and I'm pretty excited about them. So let's dive in. The first one is going to be Demons of Asterborg, and this was a Switch game that I pre-ordered. I pre-ordered this from Limited Run, and I believe that this is kind of just like a remake of a game series that was available on the Sega Genesis back in the day. This game totes all of the 2D pixelated hack and slash glory that I love. If you follow the channel, you know that I'm into shoot 'em ups, beat 'em ups, 2D side scrollers, hacking and slashing, all that good stuff. And I feel bad because I don't even feel like I'm taking advantage of the Switch's full capabilities, because I play so many retro games on it. I don't even play the 3D games, but Demons of Asterborg was a cool one. It's one that I pre-ordered, and I'm excited to dive into it. Another pre-order that came in that I was totally stoked about was my copy of Contra Anniversary Collection. This was available on, I think, Limited Run's website, and you could have gotten the whole, big box with all the collector stuff inside. I just didn't feel compelled to do all that for this collection. Limited Run has put out a lot of collections. They put out the Castlevania collection. They put out the Castlevania Advance collection. They put out the Contra collection. So there's a lot of these 2D classics that Limited Run is just capitalizing on and just kind of remaking these games or re-releasing these games on the Switch. So, but I thought this was cool. I don't have all of the Contra games, so this is a good way for me to capture them all. I did have a lot of these at one point or another, but I just didn't keep them all. So this is one that I was glad to add to the collection. And then this last pre-order that came in, I was really stoked and excited to get this. At first I thought I wasn't going to get it because I feel like I pre-ordered this so long ago, but it finally came in and I'm very happy to have it. And it is my copy of Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. And I don't know why, but everything about this game screams Hagane to me. If Hagane were to ever have a part 2, I feel like this would be it. And Vengeful Guardian Moonrider feels somewhat of a spiritual successor to Hagane. I hope one day they do come out with like a Hagane 2, whether it's released, by Limited Run or some company, but I would really love to see another version of Hagane released. But Moonrider is a great way for you to get all of those Hagane feels. You are a cyborg samurai ninja rebelling against your creators, of course, and you're using all of your weapons and gadgets and tools and skills to fight for humanity. And that's what it's all about when it comes to these action-packed samurai ninja warrior games. And these are three of the best Switch games to me, just because I like going off the beaten path when it comes to buying Switch games, and I like finding those those games that I know are going to be harder to get. You're always going to be able to get a lot of the Nintendo games, like the games, the AAA games. You'll always be able to go into a Walmart, Target, Best Buy and get those. But some of these more niche Switch games are just harder to find, and I feel like in the future they'll be hard to get. So it doesn't mean that you buy a game now just because you're afraid it's going to go up. But if it's a game that you'll want to play, then I would definitely buy it now if you think that it will be rare or hard to find in the future. But that does it for me on this calm Saturday. Hopefully you are enjoying the weekend and having a chance to get what you consider to be the best games for you. There are a lot of bests out there. Take some time before it gets really, really cold, and maybe make one more stab at your local thrift store, maybe your local GameStop. Check out your local retro game store and see what are some of the best games you can find for your collection based on your taste and gameplay style. Well, that does it for me. I am the Y2K Collector. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take it easy.